Yeah, Pradipaji asks, is there any like non-rasa? Because in Western countries, the rasa Aushadhis are not allowed. So, is there any non-rasa equivalent to Arogya Vardhini? Because heavy metal usage is restricted in the US. Probably Patola Katurohini Adi comes close, sir.
Yeah, definitely. Patola Kadruvanadi comes close to that. But it is our duty to show to the West that how that nanomedicines and these molecules in such a small thing, even though it is heavy metal, it is subjected for purification, and its effect on the body is completely different than the what the elemental metal of the maybe it may be parada, that is mercury or lead or even arsenic or whatever it is, that has to be established, and they should of course in due time they will definitely get convinced about these things and they will start using it, because they also use a lot of nano silver particles, they also use nano gold particles in already many things. So when you can use those things, and this is traditionally and customary, they have made these things to a nano level with using the technology of maybe of different nature. So then definitely we should understand and we should accept to open mind to understand these characters and information available in this domain, and it should be made somewhat homogeneous with the world, what the language they understand. So we don't need to worry about why they don't allow it. Of course, time being there is a restriction due to the constraints of the legal, and each and every country has some its own regulations. So based on that parameters, it is not allowed. Okay, then your best option would be Patola Kaduru Adi Kashaya, Pitarecha Kwata, almost similar to that. So such type of combinations are there.
Sticking to this heavy metal thing, like I have a wild theory, so please forgive me for this misadventure. It's just like hypothetical. The heavy metal thing is the one which is kind of acting as a barrier. I was reading this How Not to Die by it's a very famous book on on different herbs, largely talks about healthy diet and whatnot. So there he touches on Ayurveda. He knows a lot of knows a lot regarding Indian spices, how they are useful. Even he mentions Ayurveda and all. But ultimately he gives a caveat at the end that I mean, be careful with Ayurveda medicines. They contain heavy metal thing. So the main barrier for this Rasa Aushadhis to be used worldwide is the heavy metal and its safety aspect. Probably all the industry stakeholders, academic stakeholders with the government of India, probably they should come up with something like a 200 or 300 crore rupees of plan, multi-center clinical trial, especially concentrating on safety and efficacy of this. May not be efficacy, just for the safety of it, that it is used for certain weeks in a certain dose, would not cause any adverse effect, which is feared very widely by the West. I hope that day comes, sir.
See, basically we need to understand certain things. We should have a rational thinking mind and openness to accept the truth. It may be from anywhere, it may be from the east or from the west. The first thing is, we all know that any metal in its basal elemental format, how it behaves, the same thing won't happen when in its nanoparticle size. The nanoparticle nano silver behaves entirely different from the metallic silver. When we accept that in metallurgy and in chemistry, when we are ready to accept this part as a science, it's a truth, then why don't you accept that Ayurveda has quoted it's a nanoparticle? Because it may be a heavy metal, but remember this heavy metal has been subjected for such a type of Shodhana and Marana procedures wherein it has become Bhasmikarana, and this totally has become a ash which is floating on the surface of the water. Varithara, it has been said. When a heavy metal is able to made or converted into float on the surface of water freely without getting that immersed into that, it suggests that there is a systematic and on a large scale there is a conversion. So that conversion of a metallic heavy metal into something like a nanoparticle of that metal, definitely that nanoparticle of metal is also having certain typical what you call in chemistry or something like physics, valency, something like that, which attracts certain things, and certain hard chemical is also been combined to that, and it is being triturated with using those of liquids and solvents of such nature. So definitely the outcome of Ayurvedic medicine, whatever it is there in the form of herbo mineral, may not be the same what the heavy metal they think of it. And Ayurveda never ever said that by we are using a raw material as gold, and by the end of the process we convert it into silver or we convert it into a copper. No, we never say that. It is a bhasma of that particular metal, and ultimately it enters into the bhasma of that particular metal. We are using Naga, we are using Parada, Mercury, but everything will be converted into bhasmas of that particular metal only. We don't change them to different type of things. That's what Ayurveda has said. So then, the modern the parameters of identifying the heavy metal is typical. So that heavy metal has been subjected in such a manner that a test model has been designed. See, we have been designed some model to study the mercury as a metal. Then we have a test designed to find out arsenic. We have a test designed to find out lead. But these tests are designed to identify those metals. And we are not saying that we are converting those metals. We are saying that metals will be subjected to such a reduction, it will come to a nanoparticle size. Still, it remains the same metal. So definitely that metal has to give test positivity when it is subjected for the test. So that's why these what market available tests are there for mercury or arsenic or lead holds good even for the bhasmas of that particular metals. So that bhasmas are definitely will be there, will be giving the results, positive results for the test. But that doesn't make that it is exactly the same of metal element. Elemental in a metallic form may be causing a damage to the body, but it is being subjected to such an activity and such a process wherein it is being reduced to such an ash which starts floating on the surface of water. So such is the beautifulness of this Ayurveda and Shastra. So we cannot, we need to make them to understand these concepts, and of course it should be made them to understand in their own metallurgy and that chemistry format and those words, and of course that requires some multicentric and big people getting involved into this, and of course in future definitely they will involve and the things will be in a somewhat better way in the future.